So today we are going to reflect on the life of Abraham. We're going to focus on four different occasions from his journey that he had with God. And we're going to have takeaways from each occasion so that it can help each one of us to become a man or woman, after God's own heart. So the first one would be the journey of Abraham from Ur to Canaan. In the beginning of the story of Abraham in Genesis chapter 11, verses 31, it shows that Terah, Abraham's father, decided to move from Ur of Chaldeans to the land of Canaan. So Abraham, Lot, Sarai, and all that he had, they were going to move from Ur to Canaan. However, what became in their journey, can you show the next slide, please? I don't know if you guys can see it. They were supposed to go from Ur to Canaan, but in between they made a pit stop at the land of Haran, and there Terah decides, okay, I'm going to settle down here. He didn't go where he was supposed to go. Now, oftentimes in life, we get offered an option to either choose what's God's plan is for us or to choose what is easy, convenient, and familiar. We are creatures of habit and we like familiarity, right? And the same choice was there for Abraham before him. But at Haran, God gave him a peek at what his plans were for him for the first time. And he trusted what God promised. And he chose to finish what God had started and not give in to the trap of convenience. I want you to remember this. This is always a trap, convenience. Because the relocation was never going to be easy. There were uncertainties. He had lots of people relying on him because he was just 75 years old, but he had lot of possessions and he acquired lot of people while he was in Haran. And he had to make a decision to risk everything for everyone, but he took it anyway. Now, the takeaway from this occasion is choose God's plan for you over convenience and comfort. Now, the next occasion was when there was separation of Abraham and Lot. Now, Abraham had to move to Egypt because of a severe famine. And when that happened, even in the land of Egypt, he flourished. Because in Genesis chapter 13, verse 2, it says, Abraham was very rich in livestock, silver, and gold. Just because of his relocation, he didn't lack anything. And it was not just Abraham who flourished. Lot also flourished, so much so that the shared land couldn't support both their manpower and livestock at the same time. We all know what happened next. They decided to separate and choose lands. Abraham said, if you choose east, I'll go to west. If you choose west, I'll go to east. And Lot, when he looked over the land of Sodom, he's like, okay, he chose the land, the plains of Jordan. And for our kids to understand, any land that is adjacent to a river is considered one of the most fertile piece of land because of all the nutrients that the land deposits. So he got the good part of the deal. Like when he got an offer, he picked the best. But on the other side, Abraham, he didn't have the fertile land, but he had God on his side. And that made all the difference. God blessed wherever he was. Instead of giving him a blessing, he blessed wherever he was. And from there onwards, he lacked nothing. So the takeaway for us from this section is be wise. You put your confidence in your provider and not in provisions. The next portion that we're going to talk about is when Abraham saved Lot. Now, Abraham cared like God cared for him. When God took care of Abraham, God made sure he took care of all his loved ones and people who relied on him. Now, there was a time when, the next slide, please. Maybe, I don't know if it's too small. Oh, the top corner says 4 kings of north and bottom side says 5 kings of south. And that's the area where Sodom is. So Sodom was the land that Lot chose, right? So now 4 kings of the north decided they're going to wage war against 5 kings in the south. And even if they were 5 and they were 4, who won the war? The 4, the kings of the north. And in all this chaos, was Abraham affected? No, he was on, if you see, on the other side of the river. So he was not impacted by any of that is happening. But the moment he heard that Lot was in danger, because after the war, there's a practice of taking spoils from the land. And as a spoil, they took all the people and everything that was there as prisoners. Now, Lot was there taken as a prisoner. So, what he did, mind you, this is the same 4 army that of 4 kings that couldn't be won over by army of 5 kings. And now Abraham decides to go and get Lot back with his 318 trained men. Just that. Now let's not make a mistake to think that Abraham is the hero of the story, because Abraham himself didn't make that mistake. He didn't get blinded by his victories. He gave credit where it was due, because right after they made they won the battle, he came back and he gave 1/10 of his share of the spoil to God. He gave it as his tithe to the priests of God Most High. At that time, there was no institution like that, but the king of Melchizedek is known as the God of Most High, priest of God Most High, as thanksgiving to God, because he knew who was with him at that war. Now, takeaway from this occasion is, when God is on your side, your cause becomes God's cause, and He fights your battles. Now, the last occasion that we're going to reflect upon is when the Lord visits Abraham. This is one incident among many which is considered as Christophany. So, that is manifestation of Christ before his incarnation. And this is one of the closest passage to my heart, because these are rare occasions where you get to have a peek at God in action. So this is what is happening. Now Abraham is sitting at the entrance of his tent, and he sees that there are 3 men at the near him. The moment he sees, he recognizes that it's the Lord. How is that possible? Like, it's not something like God does every day that Abraham knows God is going to come at this time. But he just knew. Have you ever wondered? I have wondered. Bible doesn't tell us. It gives us the room to, have our imaginations go wild. But probably this is what Jesus meant in John chapter 10 verse 14, when he says, "My sheep know me." Abraham knew the Lord. So, okay, now when the 3 men came, he did everything that he could do. He fed them with the best of what he had. And right after that, when he was leaving, God, like a friend, he says this statement, "I wonder if I should tell Abraham what he's going to be, that he's going to be father of nations, he's going to be mighty, and he's going to have a lot of children." He's talking like that with Abraham. And just like a friend, he's also speaking his mind to Abraham. Like, think of probably our Prime Minister of Canada. It's like him talking about the plans he has for the country with a strange, I wouldn't say stranger, but someone from his house. Like, who will he confide to? Only someone he trusts, right? Just like that, God is speaking his mind to Abraham, and he's looking over Sodom, and he's telling, "You see, I have heard so much outcry against the Sodom, and now I'm going to go myself to see if it justifies what I've heard. And by the end of it, I'll know what's going to happen." That's what it says. I want you, portion is really interesting. I have limited time, so I don't want to read it out. I would encourage you guys to read that section. It's very interesting how the conversation that they have. So now, when he says that, Abraham quickly knows what God is going to find when he actually goes down to Sodom, because he knows his brother is there. He knows the wickedness that is going on. And mind you, at this point of his lifetime, he is all set. His present is secure because God is with him. He's not going through any of the war. His future is nothing but beautiful and all bright and happy news because of what God told him what he's going to have. But at this point, his mind is not occupied by that. His mind is occupied by his concern for his loved one, because he knows he's not going to be okay when God passes and sees what's going to happen there. So what does he do? He pleads. He pleads like he never pled for himself. He tells God, and you know the conversation. I love this conversation that God and Abraham has after that. God indulges him to, give him a try to convince him. He's God Almighty, but he patiently listens to what Abraham is saying when he's telling, you're the just God. Are you sure you are going to sweep the place off, even when there's just 10 just people, one just people? And God is patiently answering him, and he gives him assurance. The God who Almighty is giving assurance to a mere man that don't worry, I'm a just God. I will be just when I will go and see there. And what's the outcome of all this conversation and all the pleading that he did? Lot and his family got another chance at life, right? So the takeaway from this session is, go above and beyond to petition for others as if their life depended on it, because it might be the case. You might be their only chance. So now I want to talk to our children right here. Dear children, when you walk with God, God can use you to be a blessing for not just yourself, but people around you, your family, people who work for you, work with you. You will see that all across the Bible. God just bless people because of probably one blessed man. And there sometimes it even surpasses generations and even nations. So when you have gotten this chance to walk with your Creator, I encourage you to take it, and treasure it. Treasure it just like Jesus taught us the value of the kingdom of God. How is that? Like a piece of land that has a treasure so valuable that you should be able to sell everything else just to be able to keep it, because it's going to be worth it. Trust me, it's going to be worth it. So, with this piece of encouragement, I conclude my message, and I hope it's a blessing for everyone.